In the small village of Ashwood, a mysterious event occurred that would change the lives of its residents forever. It started when a strange stranger named Cale arrived in town, wearing a long, black coat and a wide-brimmed hat that cast a shadow over his face. Cale was a quiet and enigmatic figure, and no one knew much about him, except that he seemed to be hiding a dark secret. He took up residence in the old, abandoned mill on the outskirts of town, and the villagers began to whisper among themselves about the strange noises and lights coming from within. At first, the villagers tried to ignore Cale and his strange ways, but as time went on, they couldn't help but feel a sense of unease whenever he was near. He would often be seen walking alone in the dead of night, his long coat billowing behind him like a dark cloud. One night, a group of brave villagers decided to investigate the mill and uncover the truth about Cale. They approached the mill cautiously, hearing strange whispers and creaks as they entered. Inside, they found Cale standing in the center of the room, surrounded by strange artifacts and symbols etched into the walls. The villagers were shocked at what they saw. The room was filled with strange and ominous objects, including ancient tomes bound in black leather, strange devices that looked like they belonged in a torture chamber, and a large, stone pedestal in the center of the room. Suddenly, Cale spoke in a low, raspy voice, "Welcome, villagers. I have been waiting for you. You see, I have made a pact with a dark force, and it has granted me immense power. But there is a price to pay, and that price is the soul of one of your own." The villagers were shocked and terrified, but before they could react, Cale pointed to one of them, a young woman named Lyra, and said, "She is the one. She will be the sacrifice." And with that, Lyra disappeared into thin air, leaving the villagers stunned and helpless. They tried to run, but their feet felt heavy, as if they were rooted to the spot. Cale began to laugh, a low, menacing sound that sent chills down the spines of the villagers. "You should not have come here," he said. "Now you will all pay the price." And with that, the villagers began to vanish one by one, until only one was left. A young man named Thorn, who had been in love with Lyra, was the last one standing. Thorn was consumed with anger and grief, and he attacked Cale with all his might. But Cale was too powerful, and he easily deflected Thorn's blows. "You are a foolish mortal," Cale said. "You think you can defeat one who has made a pact with the dark forces?" And with that, Thorn disappeared, leaving Cale alone in the mill. From that day on, strange things began to happen in Ashwood. People would vanish in the dead of night, and the villagers knew that Cale was behind it all. They tried to stay indoors at night, but it seemed like Cale could sense their fear, and he would often appear in their dreams, his eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. The villagers were trapped in a living nightmare, and they didn't know how to escape. They tried to seek help from the nearby towns, but no one believed their stories of a strange stranger with supernatural powers. And so, the villagers lived in fear of Cale, always looking over their shoulders, waiting for the day when he would come for them. One day, a group of brave warriors from a nearby town decided to investigate the strange occurrences in Ashwood. They arrived in the village, ready for battle, but they found it deserted. The villagers were all gone, and the only one left was Cale, standing in the center of the village, his eyes gleaming with an evil light. The warriors attacked Cale, but he was too powerful, and he easily defeated them. And with that, the village of Ashwood was no more. It was as if it had never existed. But the legend of Cale lived on, a cautionary tale about the dangers of making deals with dark forces. And people would whisper to each other in the dead of night, "Beware of Cale, the stranger in the long, black coat. He will come for you when you least expect it." And so, the story of Cale was passed down from generation to generation, a reminder of the horrors that lurked in the shadows, waiting to pounce.